everyone. I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today. We will now start the fourth session of webinar 2020 Jeonbuk for foreign investors. CBCM is a commissioned facilitator for accelerating cross-border business development for the Korean local government. Webinar 2020 Jeonbuk for foreign investors was planned as a total of 4 information sharing sessions in 2020, and this is the last session. My name is Yuri Song, Head of Global Business at CBCM, based in Hanover, Germany. I am going to present the first part of the session, Korean government's renewable energy projects and business opportunities. And Dr. Seokjin Kim, an expert advisor of the Investment and Finance Division of Jeonbuk Provincial Office, will take you through the second part, Jeonbuk Province's renewable energy business environments and case reviews. If you have any questions, we would appreciate if you send them to CBCM afterwards, and we will respond as soon as possible. As mentioned, I will take you through the first part of today's webinar, Korean government's renewable energy projects and business opportunities. I will start with the vision and measures for government's renewable energy projects and plan, then a little more detail into New Deal policy and hydrogen economy plan. Once we looked at potential areas for your business opportunities, I will introduce you Korea's foreign direct investment policy, which can be very useful information for you. Okay, let's start. The year 2020 was interesting, at the same time difficult year for many, and definitely there was negative shock to economy due to COVID-19. Of course, some permanent economic loss from corona situation is inevitable, but Korean government recognizes that early response to structural changes is critical to overcome negative shock and re-enter the growth path of economic development. New Deal policy focuses on 2 responses: accelerate the transition to a digital economy in line with the surge in non-face-to-face interaction, and respond to growing demand for low-carbon, eco-friendly economy. Especially regarding the hydrogen economy development, Korea targets to become the #1 hydrogen economy in the world. The main focus is on hydrogen-powered vehicles, where Korea plans to achieve the world's highest market share by 2040. The whole hydrogen industry is expected to add more than $38 billion to Korean economy and create 420,000 new jobs by 2040. For these visions to be materialized, few measures are put in place, and I will introduce one of these measures, which is foreign direct investment policy that was revised recently to promote active participation of international companies, and I believe this would be very interesting for you. I believe this can be a good starting point for foreign companies to explore what opportunities are available for them in South Korea. In response to the required structural changes, Korean New Deal projects are launched, and amongst the Korean New Deal projects, 10 key projects have been selected based on the efficiency, sustainability, and the magnitude of the impact on the economy. They are categorized in 3 areas: digital, green, and digital green industrial convergence. Investment amount is specified in trillion won next to each project shown here. To give you some ideas, I will briefly explain a few of these projects. AI government project is to utilize 5G network, blockchain technology, and other new digital technologies to quickly process and provide customized public services. An investment amount for the project is 9.7 trillion Korean won. Green and Smart Schools project in Digital Green New Deal category has investment amount more than 15 trillion Korean won. This is to install solar panels and eco-friendly insulation to all school buildings including at least 2,800 elementary, middle, and high school buildings. Full Wi-Fi coverage will be provided in 380,000 classrooms by 2024. Lastly, transition from all diesel cars and vessels to electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles will be supported with investment amount of more than 20 trillion Korean won to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases and to enhance competitiveness in the future car market. By executing those key projects from the previous slide, together with other plans, we expect the following outcomes from the New Deal policy. For example, renewable energy generation is expected to reach 42.7 gigawatt by 2025. There will be 1,130,000 electric cars and 200,000 hydrogen fuel cell cars by 2025. As part of the Green New Deal, Korean government also has a separate hydrogen economy plan, which will be briefly introduced in the next two slides. To achieve the vision of the #1 hydrogen economy, the National Assembly passed a special law at the beginning of 2020, Hydrogen Economy Promotion and Hydrogen Safety Management Law. This was designed to ensure that all necessary steps can be taken and all arising issues can be resolved without delays. The Korean government has divided the application of hydrogen into mobility and energy. Mobility is mostly concerned with hydrogen-powered vehicles and hydrogen fueling stations. The plan is to expand the number of fueling stations to 1,200 and produce 6.2 million units of hydrogen vehicles by 2040. The 6.2 million include domestic demand and export. For domestic public transport, the goal is to supply a number of hydrogen taxis, buses, and trucks. The second application is energy. Here, hydrogen fuel cells are used for power generation and to power homes. The plan is to achieve 15 gigawatt for power generation and 2.1 gigawatt for homes by 2040. The hydrogen cost is also expected to decline after starting out very high, down to $2.72. Supply of hydrogen, storage, and transportation are important factors, of course. The supply of hydrogen is set to reach 5.2 million tons per year by 2040. As of 2018, it was only 130,000 tons, with hydrogen from 99% supply from hydrogen extraction and 1% supply from byproducts in the petrochemical process. Water electrolysis is planned to be added in 2022, and import from overseas production is planned to become an additional source starting in 2030. The total supply share of hydrogen extraction will slowly decline to only 30% in 2040. Regarding the hydrogen storage and transportation, Korean government has not yet made very specific announcements yet. However, what is clear is that to convert from high-pressure gas storage to liquefaction, liquid and solid storage. For transportation, the government plans to build a nationwide pipeline supply chain. Hope all those projects and plans introduced so far are encouraging you to consider potential businesses and explore opportunities in Korea. Republic of Korea welcomes foreign direct investments and has implemented a support-focused promotion policy. The key point of foreign investment policy of Korea is to open the scope of the available industries to FDIs as much as possible and provide business environment where leading technology companies can do business competitively in Korea. Hence, Korea has an active foreign investor protection program that meets international standards, where there is no limit in the overseas remittance of the profit by the investment principal and business activity. Registered FDI firms are protected by the same legal protection as the Korean firms. Furthermore, Korea is creating a business environment for FDIs where leading and top-notch firms can pursue business in Korea through establishment of regional headquarters, R&D centers so that companies can increase qualitative employment and strengthening the development of industrial ecosystem. To become registered FDI in Korea, there are minimum requirements and eligibility you need to meet. The minimum requirement for foreign companies wishing to invest in Korea is to invest Korean won 100 million, and at least 10% of the total investment amount must be the foreign investment. Korea allows foreign investment to get into 95% of the listed industries, and this excludes only few special business fields. There are 4 types of investment to be eligible as FDI. First, establish a new Korean corporation or acquire a stake in an existing Korean corporation. Second, invest in a long-term loan with a period of more than 5 years. Third is the newly added type, which is to reinvest operating firms' unappropriated earned surplus for establishing or expanding a factory. The last type is to participate in the establishment of a non-profit research and development organization. And the assets recognized as foreign investments are tangible assets such as Korean currency or foreign currency cash, capital goods, stakes listed on foreign stock markets of foreign companies, and domestic real estate owned by foreigners. Intangible assets such as intellectual property rights, such as patents and process technologies, are included in investment assets. Investment assets, except the cash, should go through an asset valuation evaluation process by authorized monetary valuation agency. As a registered FDI in Korea, you become a potential recipient of FDI incentives. There are 4 major incentives for foreign investors. The first is cash grant support, which the amount of support is determined by industry classification, investment type, and job creation effect. In particular, from 2020, by the newly applied cash grant program, companies can get up to 30% of the investment amount. In case of high technology firms and for R&D, the upper limit is 40% and 50% respectively. The second is tax reduction exemption on acquisition tax and property tax for corporation, income tax for core engineers. There are additional incentives that include industrial site provision, rent reductions, employment grants, and training costs. In order to apply for the incentive programs mentioned in the previous slide, there are requirements to meet as shown on this page, and the next slide shows the preferred industries for incentive programs. I'm not going through these 2 slides. However, the information is included here for your reference later. Please email us about the detailed qualification requirements or for a copy of this presentation. This concludes the first part of the presentation, and thank you very much for listening.